To be a man in such times is to be one amongst untold billions. The lives of most human beings is of utterly no consequence to the imperium of man. Almost all live, die, and are forgotten. A few linger in the memories of their loved ones. Most live a life bereft of meaning, toiling in factorums until they no longer can. It is rare that the actions of so few could have consequences for so many. It is rare that individuals find themselves in a position to shape the history of the galaxy. Ogg had absolutely no appreciation for the magnitude of his situation. As smart as he was only dimly aware that this was a special kind of job. And while the Astartes were steeling their nerves for the conflict ahead, the Ogryns were mostly occupied with keeping themselves from getting bored. Commissar Gallus and Bonehead Ogg took the Bulgrins through their paces, checking equipment and making sure everything was in working order, and securing pieces of armor that had been damaged or loosened in the fighting with the Gene-Stealers and Lictors. The cavernous halls of these deep chambers echoed with every sound Gallus made. The place was so immense that the echoes continued to bounce and reverberate until the sounds overlapped with each other. So the Ogryns started to get confused because sometimes Gallus's voice said one command, but then another, albeit more quiet command, would bounce into their ears. The Imperial forces stood in the hallway they were meant to defend to the death if necessary. Behind them was the unknown psychic power source that the Tyranids could not be allowed to get their claws on. Before them were 4 grand ancient hallways that came together. Unlike the portions of the city close to the surface that were taken care of by the penitents, this portion of the catacombs had no traditional imperial iconography, and the style was distinct from the Gothic cathedrals that were ubiquitous across the Imperium. As the Ogryns continued their drills and saw to some minor weapons maintenance, Sergeant Lazarus perked up. He could hear footsteps coming down the hall from what must have been the inner sanctum, the place where the asset was supposedly housed.
Someone's coming. 2 people by the sound of it, one much larger than the other.
Inquisitor Torix smiled to himself. I have my suspicions as to their identities. Still, we should make ourselves presentable. Gallus nodded. Bulgrins, kneeling shield line.
And point that way.
The Ogryns fell into line and formed their shield wall. The Lamenter Terminators came up behind them, leveling their weapons at the darkness. Emerging out of the shadows were 2 figures. The first was unmistakably one of the gold-clad Custodes. Ogg's eyes opened wide at seeing such a figure up close and in person. He had previously only seen a glimpse of these warriors, and at the time he was losing consciousness. Even with their tactical dreadnought armor, the Custodes still stood taller than any of the gathered Primaris. One of the Adeptus Custodes, a being that had lived and fought alongside the Emperor himself, gleaming halberd in hand, stood before the assembled force. While the Custodes evoked the glory of being handcrafted by the Emperor himself, his companion evoked a very different feeling. She was much smaller, taller perhaps than the average human female, but still shorter than even Commissar Gallus. But there was something about her that caused a kind of unease to seep into the ranks of the Ogryns and Space Marines. And she moved like a warrior, very measured and practiced. While the Custodes was the hopeful shining light of the Emperor, the woman who accompanied him was the callous ruthlessness and suffering that was underlying every moment of glory.
I am Shield Captain Actaeon, and this is my counterpart, Sister Commander Abatisa. We heard your arrival.
The custodies looked over the assembled bulky Terminators and massive Ogryns.
It was not difficult. Explain your presence in this most sacred place.
I am Inquisitor Torix. I am acting as liaison between Ordo Xenos and Ordo Malleus in a combined effort on this world. The sister commanders seemed to smirk as Torix announced himself.
Combined effort indeed. The Inquisition, Sub Astra Militarum Auxilia, and the Lamenters. Continue, Inquisitor.
We are here to defend the asset from the Xenos. I have reason to believe that this is their target. This might even be the very reason they selected Molech to invade. The shield captain nodded.
Under normal circumstances, I would have you all killed. How you came to know about this place is of great concern, and why you felt it was wise to bring simpletons and a cursed chapter into one of the most sacred places the Imperium is beyond me.
No one dared say a word, or object to the custodian. Shield Captain Actaeon glanced over to Abatisa, who looked to him, and then at the assembled force before her, before nodding her head.
However, our squabbles are secondary. If you are here to defend the Sanctum Porta, then I will accept your help. Abatisa and I will maintain our vigil in the chamber itself. If you are overrun, you may retreat to our position, and we shall fight to the last man if necessary. The Emperor protects.
Everyone echoed the custodian except for his companion, who simply bowed her head. Then, Shield Captain Actaeon and Sister Commander Abatisa turned and headed back down the hallway, the feeling of unease slowly fading away. Well, Ogg, you've managed to see a Custodes and a Sister of Silence. Not many can say that they have.
I saw the shiny men before when we were fighting the bad bugs in the big battle. But I lost a lot of blood and that made me go to sleep for a while.
After the custodian and the Sister of Silence left, the waiting continued. It wasn't clear how long they would have to sit there. Gallus eventually had the Ogryns eat some rations, just to keep them occupied for a little while longer. The Lamenters simply maintained their vigil, unflinching in their determination. Ogryns were very well-intentioned, and they were fearless in battle, but they were easily distracted. Even Ogg was having trouble fending off boredom. As the Ogryns were finishing their meals, another sound came echoing down the halls. It sounded like it was coming from nearly every hallway connected to the intersection before them. Chittering, screeching, scurrying, the sounds of thousands of claws on the ancient stones of this place.
Come on, Bogwins! We got bad bugs to smash!
Gallus and Ogg quickly got the Bulgryns in order and had them line up in front of the Terminators, kneeling and forming their shield wall as the sounds of the swarm drew closer. The echoes of the place made the sounds of the encroaching horde seem like it was almost a solid wall of undifferentiated noise, like a massive swarm of bees descending down upon them. Ogg, Gallus, Torix, and Sergeant Lazarus waited. The storm had arrived. No man do they call me. My mother and my father, and all my comrades as well. Thank you all for listening to the latest story in the Ogg the Ogryn series. If you enjoyed what you hear, please leave a like and a comment so that all the Bulgryns know that they are good boys. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and click the bell icon in order to be notified when the harrowing conclusion of the series comes out next week. And if you have absolutely no idea what's going on, or you simply want to experience the Ogg saga all over again, you can click on the link to the playlist, which should be on screen right now. If you would also like to do your part to smash the bad bugs, you can support me on Patreon, or you can donate via PayPal if you prefer. Both links are in the description below. Thank you all very much. No Man out.